fight for what I love with every breath. My past is filled with things I won't forget. I use them all to push
Among
me
the
to
many
my
projects we have on this fine Saturday, blustery cold Saturday, is getting the bull calves castrated and everybody vaccinated. We vaccinate with Covaxin 8. Protects against tetanus, black leg. There's a whole bunch of things. I'll put a link in the description to what it does, what the protocols are for it. This will be the calves' second time getting vaccinated, and we like to make sure that they are double vaccinated before we castrate. We use what's called a calcrate bander. It's a really, really, really big band that has a lot of tension to it. We could cut the scrotum and drop the testicles out and use what's called emasculators, but we just choose to do it this way. There's less chance of the calves rupturing a blood clot and subsequently kicking the bucket, which we don't want to happen. So we'll just do this. This is what we've done for a couple years. It does take a little while, kind of like goats and things like that, for their boy bits to fall off, but that's all right. We've got a little bit of time to get them onto a little bit more feed and a little less mom milk when we do wean them, which I do believe we'll wean them next week. So give them a little time with mom to, say, oh mom, help me out, and then they get a little less stressed by doing it that way. But we're gonna get the show on the road because, like I said, it's cold and I don't like the cold. All right, here we go. Show you real quick how this calcrate bander works. So this is the calcrate bander. This guy, this is your lever to close your metal piece, and this loop here goes behind the metal piece but in front of where they connect with the little metal ring. And then this guy is your ratchet, and this is your indicator knob. When your indicator knob is all the way back here, then you're pretty much done. You're out of crank. So basically how you do it is you feed it. See, there's a seam right there. That seam goes on the bottom. So you feed it, this part goes on the top. So you feed it like this, down through, like that. And this little guy will catch in here, just because it's not big enough to actually go through. And what I like to do is I like to make sure that he's got a little bit of a tail. Then I take your string with your little plastic washer at the end, and I pull it actually a little bit so that I can get enough extra to feed him in there right, and to make sure that he's sitting right down at the bottom. And then I take my thumb and my index finger, I hold the loop right here and pull it back up. And what I usually do is I crank it just a little to add tension to this, because when you're holding on to it, you're going in like this to grab the testicles and the sac, and you're trying to walk them through this hole, which doesn't always work the best, especially when they're bigger calves, bigger endowed calves. So what I usually do is I usually crank it just a little bit so it gives a little tension on the string so it can't pull this piece and this piece out the end. It's a lot less hassle that way. So then basically you got their huevos back here, and you're just gonna crank. You got a handle here, but for showing purposes, I'll just let it hang. You're cranking, and see how it's pulling down? That's how you do that. And then when you get to your space to where you're not, this guy is not set, but when your knob gets to the back, or you have no more tension in your elastic, then you're done. And then in that case, you pull this lever, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to waste a band. And then what it does, here, let me unhook it and show you. What it does is it takes these and it crimps them over. Greg's playing with the dogs. Crimps them over themselves and locks them in. Then you take like a ear tag cutter and you slice the parts that are really stretched out behind this tag right here. And then when they break, they look like this. This is a spent one. This is pretty much what they look like. They're pretty actually sturdy. I haven't had one come off yet. When I worked as a large animal vet tech, this is how we did a lot of calves, and they're pretty foolproof, but you don't fall off. All right, you ready? Here we go. Alrighty. You're gonna notice the few calves that we have go in either together or just get caught and get their vaccination. Those are our heifers. They don't have boy parts, so there's no reason to try to castrate them. And they kind of get the easy road today. You'll also see these calves act like they're fighting a little bit. They really don't like getting their head put in a head chute, but for the most part, I mean, this is only the second time they've ever been through a chute, so it is a little bit nerve-wracking for them, but they settle down pretty quick. The majority of the time that I'm going to be spending with these boys is to make sure that all of their testicles, so they have 2 testicles per calf, and both of them are in the band before I crimp the band and cut the tails. I want to absolutely make sure that we don't forget a testicle or can't find one, or make sure that we didn't lose one just before crimping the band. So I'm pretty adamant about making sure that that happens. That being said, they are getting the same thing as the girls for a vaccination. It is Covaxin 8. Covaxin 8 prevents against clostridial combinations. It also helps protect against things like blackleg, malignant edema, red water, black disease, and also prevents against tetanus and enteritis type B, C, and D. It is a killed vaccination, meaning that the parts and pieces to make this vaccination are not live, so they're not alive in the body. It's a combination of something that is already deceased. You're not putting a live vaccine or a live virus into them to help prevent against these diseases and or Clostridium. The vaccination dosage size is 5 mils or 5 cc's. You give it sub-Q, so just under the skin, and it can be given to pregnant cows and nursing calves, which was why we can give it to these calves. We usually give this dose, and this dose is recommended to give twice, so once, 2 doses in 6 weeks. And then if you're planning on using it in a protocol, you can give it annually to your cows. That being said, there is a meat withhold on this drug, and it's 21 days. And we just think it's a really good idea to make sure that our cows and calves are vaccinated for things like tetanus and, blackleg and red water. Liver flukes are a thing in our area, and it helps prevent against a situation called red water, which is kind of an aftershock of what liver flukes can start to cause. Like I said, we do have liver flukes in our area. Liver flukes are not, they're not typically for cattle. You can find them in sheep and cattle, but their lifestyle host is actually a deer. And so in sheep and cattle, it will kill them. It will produce tracts in their liver and subsequently kill them because it affects their liver to the extent where the animal ceases to exist. That being said, it's also something as far as like preventative against tetanus. They don't have any open wounds right now. I really hope that they never get any. That being said, castration can cause interesting things to happen in their body. Also, stress release can cause interesting things to happen that maybe were underlying but weren't really actually there. These calves get passive transfer from their moms, so basically whatever their moms are vaccinated for, they are potentially vaccinated for in a way. But that's not necessarily how everything always works. But we hope for the best and kind of try to prepare for the worst. And in doing these kind of vaccinations in our calves, we can give ourselves a little bit more of a peace of mind that we've done what we need to do in case their body just doesn't really react to things the way that maybe we think that it should. If you guys could shoot me a couple comments on whether or not you like the voice overlay in this video. I just kind of figured out how to do it, so I was pretty excited about doing it and giving you some more information on what we're doing. This is our last little bull calf to castrate, and then we're done for the day. It took us 29 minutes and 37 seconds to do these calves today. Find their mamas. Put Chili in here as like a catalyst. Mama Chili. Keeps them calm when they're in here. That way they're not trying to run out. That's bad. Obviously there's still the lucky few that do, but Mama Chili show them where to go. The smart ones will follow calmly and the dumb ones won't. The dumb ones will shoot out of here like a rocket. There they go. Find them out. That's working calves today. Pretty short video today, but gotta do what you gotta do. Say hi to Alright. Check the later, guys. Have a good day.
Just push yourself, test yourself, figure out what you like, and find your limits. Don't be rigid, always work towards a prime. Surround yourself with open